Hello everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Velvet Lounge Life Outlander. This episode is titled Famous Last Words. It is season 5, episode number 8. And there are a few things that I would like to spoil for you immediately. And those are the following because they're important to know as this episode goes on. One is Roger is suffering mentally in his mind. He can't get over what happened to him, which is understandable. And he also refuses to speak. So at this point, no one knows whether he has, his voice back or not. And if you remember, his voice was definitely his gift. He had a gift for speaking as well as singing. And will he ever be able to do that again is a question. However, what's more worrying to people is the fact that he's not interacting, he's not engaging with anyone. Also, whenever Roger flashes back to what happened to him, because he's suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome, or what they used to call shell shock, he does it in black and white. And they use the technology of silent film. So if you ever were privy to the silent film era, then you'll know that initially films were made with no sound, just the image on the screen, and also you could hear the projector whirling about and making these little floppy noises as the film went around the cylinders or the reels. And so that's what you hear when he's thinking about and flashing back to what happened to him in black and white. Also, they do use subtitles, which they did use during the silent film era, to express, obviously, some of the things that were going on screen. So we are going to get into this episode in just a moment, and I have some crazy things to spoil for you in this particular Velvet Lounge offering. So not just a review of the episode, but as usual, some juicy tidbits are coming. But please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, as well as give us a thumbs up. And remember, if you do these things and leave a comment down below, even if it's just a thumbs up emoji or smiley face emoji, maybe a little tree or heart or something, anything. Obviously, if you have opposing views on the episodes, different ideas, or just something you want to express, leave those words typed in down below, and that is your simple entry into our gift giveaway that we're doing. And we decided to do something new. And only you guys are hearing about this right now. Eventually, we will reveal it to our other viewers as well. When we hit 1,100 subscribers, we are going to give away 5 of the gifts that we have. And of course, when we hit 2,225 subscribers, that's when the granddaddy of them all, we're giving away a ton of gifts. We initially were giving away 12, now we have 15. And you will see me using this as my pointer. This is actually 830 parts sterling silver. It's Scandinavian. Guess what? This is one of the items we're giving away. So please make sure you watch the channel, watch our other videos, comment as well. We have a full range of topics that we cover. So thank you so much also for all of the support and everyone that has taken time to participate and stay with the channel. So when the episode opens, it actually opens in the future. And in the future, Roger is teaching a class. And his class was given an assignment, and the assignment was famous last words. Remember, he teaches a history class. And he wasn't really satisfied with the work that the kids did, but we'll get down to the most important part of this. One of the kids asked him what would his famous last words be. And I will be quoting a lot that was in this episode because the words are incredibly important, and they will be more important later in the episode as well as in the future episodes. And can you believe there are only 5 episodes left this season? So Roger says, "Let history forget my name, so long as my words and my deeds are remembered by those I love." And that is going to be an important thing for later. Why? Because he's going to find out that words are not necessarily as important as he thought, or as most of us possibly think. But your words are important. Type them in down below in the comments. I just had to add that. So remember, I told you, whenever he flashes back or he's going through one of his PTSD moments, he ends up going back to the event in black and white, and it's silent. So this is everyone, discovering his body hanging from the tree. And what you could see here, and I did this, and I took some artistic license, as you know how I am with some of the photographs that I took. And here is actually Jamie, almost ghostly, I felt. And these are his hands, and they're around Roger as he's holding him as they're going to lower his body to the ground. And he realizes that Roger is still alive. So yes, that is very different than what's in the book. And so there's a visit from John Gray. And when John Gray or anybody visits a ridge, of course it's an event, because if you recall back then, getting mail and news from whatever is happening anywhere else, that's an event for people. And John Gray also always comes bearing the best gifts. And also, he's not bad to look at. Hello. And so Roger, they're trying to engage him. So they're like, "John is here. Are you coming up to the house?" And he decides not to go. Claire had just finished examining him in the presence of Bree. And she reported that other than, him not speaking, everything physical with him seems to be like he's mended. And, they try to get him to speak and he refuses. But when the two of them leave to go up to the house, something crazy happens. Stay with me and watch this. Yes, people, that is a guitar body in his arms. And he strums out, a few notes, and he whispers the words to Clementine. So now we know that Roger can actually speak. So while they're up at the house, Marcelly stops by for a visit, and Marcelly likes throwing the tarot cards around, so she deals them out, and the first thing that she deals out are her own, and she reads that she will have more children. Guess what? That's true. Fergus and Marcelly will have more than the 2 children that they have right now, because at this moment, she's due any day with a 3rd. Plus, in the story, she will have at least a couple more kids. So just to spoil that for you. But then she deals out the cards for Roger, and guess what comes up? This is the Hangman's card. And unfortunately, when it comes up, she's like, "Whoa, what's going on? Let me do that again. Maybe I did something wrong." She deals the cards again, and guess what? Yes, that card comes up again. So now Roger probably feels, he totally feels as if he's going to have this stigma about him because of that event for the rest of his life. And Bree she's talking to her mom, her pop, Marcelly, etc., about her situation, her and Roger, but obviously having another ear to rely on, which is John Gray's, is always good and offers a different perspective. And she basically is, all I want is my husband back. I just want my husband back. And when she says that, she doesn't mean she wants him to talk or speak again, because she knows there's a possibility that maybe that will not occur. However, she wants him back. She doesn't want him to just have that stare, that 1,000-yard stare, or be zombie-like and not participating or engaging with her or others. That's the part that she wants to remedy, and she doesn't know how to do that. So, of course, there's always some action adventure at the Ridge. And what do we have? We have Jamie with a dirk in his hand. That's what that is. And yes, I took artistic license with this picture because I wanted to show the action, because he's always so quick on his feet. And what is he going to do? He is ready to stab it through the head of a wild boar or a wild pig. However, before he has a chance to do that, an arrow pierces the pig's, I guess, big artery in his neck and kills it instantly. And Jamie is like, what just happened? Who are you? Am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? And what happens? It is Ian. Ian, one of the prodigal sons of the Ridge, is back, people. And it is good. It was so good to see him. However, I spoiled for you guys in an early extra spoilers video that had nothing to do with the show, what happens to poor Ian later on. So if you want to see that, I will try to link that to this video, or just watch our Outlander playlist and you will find out his story and how it goes. And, you know, of course, Ian is glad to see them, but he is definitely a different man. And notice the word man. He is no longer a boy or that goofy teenager that he was when he went away. Why? Because, hello, he's lived a life. He comes back more spiritual. He takes full stock of things versus being that happy-go-lucky, goofy kid that was unkempt. In many ways, he's very neat and very tidy, which I love. He's serious. Commonly, he's deep in thought. This is a new Ian. And everyone, of course, is incredibly happy to see him again. And also, maybe it's my opinion, but I think he's like cute. He's actually a handsome cuteness about him now. Whereas before, he was just not the most attractive fellow. So Ian, you know, Jamie asked him, you know, is everything okay? He doesn't know, like, for example, did Ian run away from the Mohawks? Or did he leave of his own free will? Like, Ian just shows up. And he was going to show up whether that wild boar was there or not. And Ian is basically like, no. And they're like, okay, if that's all you have to say. So obviously now he's a man of few words. And as I stated, everyone at the Ridge is happy to see him again. The reunion he had with Roger was very touching because they both had this silent language between the two of them, which is ironic since Roger is not speaking and Ian now uses a lot less words himself. So there's a conversation between Ian and Jamie. And the gist of this conversation is that Jamie tells him that there's, you know, basically something different about him. And he doesn't know what it is. Of course, he's trying to ask him. He tells him, you know, you just seem out of sorts. You don't seem to be yourself. And he basically wants to know what's going on. And Ian basically turns to him and he says, and I quote, "Things you keep hidden from others, you and Claire both." And then he has this look that you see on his face. And the reason for that is because Ian knows about time travel. They don't know that he knows. He hasn't brought up the subject yet. But he is definitely looking at everyone with a new set of eyes that he had never looked at them with before. And the reason that he knows about this is the medicine woman of the Mohawk tribe, who was murdered by the Germans, she gave him Ottertooth's diary and his belongings. And in that diary, that is where Ian discovered like a lot of things that he is just flabbergasted about. to help soothe Roger and Ian, and of course they have this connection for life to each other, they are charged with going out and surveying some land that was given to Roger, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So they go off on this trip, and, you know, it seems like it's going to be a good boys' trip. And they actually do their work, so surveying the land, and they, you know, finish up pretty much. They've been out there maybe 4 days, 5 days, it seems, maybe longer. And in the meantime, back at the ridge, there's a question in regards to some, I think it's called sea salt hemlock, which is very poisonous. It's hemlock. So hemlock is a poisonous plant, a root. And, you know, Marcelly and Claire are discussing the fact that most of it is missing and they didn't use it. And of course, Marcelly is like, I wouldn't even touch it because, hello, I'm with child. And Claire's like, that totally makes sense. But what happened to it? No one knows. And so the reason that Roger and Ian are out surveying the land is because Governor Tyron the Tyrant was able to give Roger 5,000 acres of land because, hello, they tried to kill the guy and did not do their job to verify who he was and his credentials. And besides the fact that if they looked at Roger, they would have known who he was. They didn't even do that because he was in such a rush, this Tyron the Tyrant, to make a name for himself. Reminds me of someone that we're suffering with right now. So Roger he wakes up, and when he wakes up, he notices that Rollo is tethered to a stake in the ground, and he sees Ian's belongings nice and neat, because he's a neat and tidy guy now, laid out, and he's like, what's going on? Did Ian just abandon me? Like, and his prized love, which is his dog? That makes no sense whatsoever. So what we discover is, guess where the poisonous hemlock is? Initially, Claire and Jamie thought that it might be with Roger because of what Roger went through. And also the fact that when Jamie was rescued from that prison, he was half dead and they didn't think that he would recover. And there were points where Jamie literally wanted to die. And thankfully, he did not. And like I said, their thought is Roger is in that same place, but that's not true. The person in that headspace is Ian, which was devastating. So Roger figures out something is weird or fishy going on, and he finds Ian, and he kicks the can out, or the cup, out of his hand before he has a chance to drink the poison. And the reason we know that Ian was going to drink the poison is he buried his hatchet. So the phrase bury the hatchet doesn't mean what we translate it to mean. What it means is basically, and this is something that was common even with the Vikings, they would bury their swords or their hatchets, or if they used a hammer as a weapon, they would bury them, and that meant that they were laying down their weapons forever for some particular reason. It could be death, or it could simply be that now I'm going to be a monk. Obviously, Ian, unfortunately, was going to commit suicide. And after talking for a while, they tussle on the ground, and Ian asked Roger very hard and harshly, like, when you were hanging from the rope, when you were going to die, what did you think of? What did you see? He wanted to know what happened. You know, he wants us to know if his pain would have gone away. And Roger says that what he saw was his wife's face. There's no escape. And so Ian says, there's no escape. Even in death, I would see her face. And so that's one of the clues into his sorrow. And I quoted that. Oh, and that bracelet is something that is a token, if you will, that represents his wife and his children. So this is Roger, telling him about, his experience and, what he saw, etc., in his feelings. And so Roger, unfortunately, has another shell shock episode or PTSD episode, and the reason for that is this conversation. So he starts seeing his death all over again and his resurrection, which is what this is. His eyes are opening, and as he stated, who did he see? Bree. And so when he gets back, and I'm actually skipping forward at this part, when he gets back to the cabin, the first thing that happens is he says Bree's name, Brianna. And, Bree is in shock. Roger says something like, "You're lost for words." And, they have this little banter. And then one of the things that Roger says to her, and I quote, is, "I will always sing for you no matter what, no matter where." So, his voice is totally back, and we are happy about that. So I love these moments where Marcelly and Ian were speaking about Scotland. They were reminiscing. They both admit to being a bit homesick, but Marcelly is like, but I also feel really guilty because I'm here. I feel like I'm a part of this family. I belong, and I feel guilty because I'm so happy. Is that wrong? And Ian is like, no, that's not wrong. And then they start talking about their children, or she starts talking about her child. Sorry, I have to correct that. And she has one that's on the way, as well as the two that her and Fergus have currently. And Ian says to her, and I quote, "Children are only lent to us for a short time by the Creator, if we are lucky." So that's another clue into his sorrows. And there's little Germain touching his mohawk, asking about the scars on his face, which are actually tattoos, which Ian chose to go on his face. And it's just a really cute moment, and I love that picture. So another thing happening at the Ridge is we have Jocasta visiting the grave of Murtaugh. So sad that Murtaugh is like definitely gone, but he is. And, one of the surprises I have for you guys is Jocasta can sing. This actress can sing like an angel. I was shocked and impressed when she started singing. I did not expect it. And I'm going to sing 2 lines of the song that she sang, so please forgive me if I butcher it. Sighing and moaning, go in peace, and leave us to grieve. Flowers of the forest are all weed away. So she sings this song, and I changed the order of the song in some of the lines so that hopefully there's no copyright issues. And she's paying her last respects. And one of the things that you should notice, and I will show you in this picture, is she's wearing the pendant that was given to her by Murtaugh when he proposed marriage. So that was just like, and this is the monument. This is where Murtaugh is buried on Fraser's Ridge, right, if you can see it. And that's Jamie and Claire's house in the distance. So he's, going to still be watching over Jamie and his family. Jamie and Jocasta have a conversation before she is on her way back to River Run. And they talk, basically reminiscing about Murtaugh and also about his dedication, his drive, his commitment, etc. And Jocasta's like, I was thinking of, that I would have created a monument for him, meaning basically a fancy grave marker, she goes, but we were not husband and wife. And then Jamie says, we were not, father and son, but it doesn't make the, and I quote, it doesn't make the pain any less or easier to bear. So I just thought that was absolutely beautiful. And, what can you say? I mean, Murtaugh was definitely the guy. He was the dude. And I'm glad that, the writers of Outlander brought him back for us as fans to enjoy. So Jocasta, obviously, everyone is still downtrodden and grieving over this fellow because it was such a huge loss. And one of the tokens that Jamie has that was Murtaugh's is Murtaugh's Scottish brooch. So here we are. Jamie is being soothed by Claire, not sexually, just as a husband and wife loving couple, because she can see how much pain he is in. So that is the end of the episode, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Remember that your health is your wealth, and without your health, you have nothing. So please, please take care of yourselves. Please follow any rules or regulations and anything your doctor and the CDC says to make sure you keep yourself, your family, and others safe out there. Do not take chances. My husband works as a hazardous duty level 1 government employee, and we know what's actually going on pretty much, and it is easy to get what is going around right now and injuring and killing people in that virus. So please be careful. And also remember to please subscribe to our channel. Thank you all so much for those that have subscribed, those that leave a comment, a thumbs up. We really, really appreciate it, and we would not be here without you. So take care.